Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's Dina Calmetta here, and for today's news, I have a few short headlines I'd like to share with you, and I'd like to start with this first report from Breitbart. Apparently, a federal judge on Wednesday said that he has found probable cause to hold the Trump administration in criminal contempt of court for violating his orders to turn around planes carrying deportees to El Salvador. And none other than U.S. District Judge James E. Boasberg said that the administration must try to purge itself from contempting finding or he will launch hearings and potentially refer the matter for prosecution. The judge wrote that the court does not reach such conclusion lightly or hastily. Indeed, it has given defendants ample opportunity to rectify or explain their actions. None of their responses have been satisfactory. The move by Boasberg marks an escalation in a battle between the judicial and executive branches of government over a president's powers to carry out key White House priorities. The Republican president has called for Boasberg's impeachment, while the Justice Department has accused the judge of overstepping his authority. Boasberg, who was nominated to the federal bench by Democratic President Barack Obama, ordered the administration last month not to deport anyone in its custody under the Alien Enemies Act. Trump invoked the 1798 wartime law over what he claimed was an invasion by a Venezuelan gang. Fox News is reporting that the Trump administration has referred New York AG Letitia James for possible prosecution over allegations of mortgage fraud. In documents obtained by Fox News, the Federal Housing Finance Agency sent a criminal referral to the Department of Justice accusing James of mortgage fraud on Tuesday. The FHFA Director William Poltz said that in a letter to the Attorney General Pam Bondi that James appears to have falsified records to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. Poltz cited a property in Virginia that James allegedly claimed as her principal residence and a property in New York she claimed as a 4-unit structure instead of 5, which he said could mean she was able to get a different and more favorable loan. In response, a spokesperson for James' office said Wednesday that she has been focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as this administration weaponizes the federal government against the rule of law and the Constitution. She also said that she will not be intimidated by bullies no matter who they are. A Fox News contributor and a George Washington University law professor, Jonathan Turley, said this is a person who prosecuted Trump for everything short of ripping a label off a mattress. And among the charges that were brought in New York, in just the civil, but the criminal case was making false or misleading statements to financial institutions. As for James, if we apply James's standard that she created, there'd be little question here. This seems pretty straightforward. He explained the Trump administration as saying that this is not her principal residence because as a New York elected official, she has to say her principal residence is New York. In the meantime, also reported by Fox News, the same Letitia James is in the preliminary stages of looking into whether President Donald Trump's recent reciprocal tariff pause included insider trading violations. Again, James, who is a longtime political foe of Trump's, is only in the preliminary stages of investigating whether Trump or people close to him may have had advanced knowledge of a tariff decision that caused stock markets to surge. Trump's customized reciprocal tariffs on nations that historically have installed trade or barriers on U.S. goods took effect on April 9th. In other news, the BBC is reporting, as well as many other sources, that the American pastor that was kidnapped, that I reported on just a couple of days ago, by armed men during a church service in South Africa has been freed following a high-intensity shootout that left 3 people dead, according to police. Josh Sullivan was found unharmed in the township on Tuesday evening, the area where the 45-year-old was taken last Thursday. There were no immediate details on the kidnappers, who had made a ransom demand. Meanwhile, Breitbart is reporting that Cuba has banned Christians from celebrating Palm Sunday tradition. The communist government said that we hereby inform that the solemn Stations of the Cross, announced and prepared by the Vicariate for tomorrow Palm Sunday at 6 p.m., so this was last weekend, has been suspended because the authorities have not approved it. So you know what, you guys, we see this in different countries around the world. We see it in China. We definitely see it in North Korea. We see it in some parts in the Middle East. They may stop the people from publicly worshiping God, but they cannot stop us from worshiping Him in our spirit and in our hearts. The Christian Post is reporting some very sad news. Following the killing of more than 60 Christians in Plateau State, Nigeria, earlier this month, the death toll of a dawn attack on Monday on a predominantly Christian community in the state has risen to 51. On Friday, suspected herdsmen killed 3 members of a family in a predominantly Christian Zogu village And also in Bassa, herdsmen raided 3 predominantly Christian villages last Tuesday, killing 2 people. Why are we not hearing more about this on mainstream media? This is massive Christian persecution in that area, you guys. We got to pray for our brothers and sisters in Christ that are facing these horrible conditions. Very sad news. In the meantime, the Daily Mail is reporting that Russian warplanes have been detected off the coast of Alaska in a terrifying escalation. Officials with the North American Aerospace Defense Command said that Russian aircraft never entered American or Canadian space. The Russian planes remained in international space, but reportedly crossed into a region named the Air Defense Identification Zone, or the ADIZ, which is beyond sovereign U.S. airspace. Aircraft are expected to identify themselves in this zone, and NORAD says it surveils the area to maintain national security. Now, this comes just 2 months after U.S. fighter jets were scrambled to the ADIZ region twice in 3 days when Russian military aircraft, including bombers, were also detected. The incident first saw the 2 bombers and the 2 fighter jets buzz near Alaska, and after they were shadowed away by U.S. aircraft. In the meantime, in the Middle East, the News Tribune is reporting that a second U.S. aircraft carrier is operating in Mid-East waters ahead of the next round of talks between Iran and the U.S. over Iran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. The operation of the USS Carl Vinson and its strike group in the Arabian Sea comes as a suspected U.S. airstrikes pounded parts of Yemen controlled by the Iran-backed Houthi rebels overnight into Tuesday. American officials have repeatedly linked the month-long U.S. campaign against the Houthis under President Donald Trump as a means to pressure Iran into the negotiations. Genetically engineered super horses with altered DNA are being created in a lab by scientists. Why do they keep on doing this? The report goes on to state that a bioengineering lab in Argentina has announced the arrival of its first super horses after genetically modifying the animal's DNA. The enterprise hopes to transform the world of high-performance animals, which are used in sports like racing and polo. Curon Biotech is a South America-based lab looking to produce the most elite horses in the world by handpicking the best traits of a horse genome and passing them on to new foals. And the company has confirmed that the first 5 genetically modified horses under its stable arrived in early December. The foals were created using the CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing technique, which allows direct intervention on DNA to correct genetic mutations or enhance specific traits. This gives scientists the opportunity to select which parts of a horse's genetic makeup they would like to alter or improve. These poor animals, you guys, they're lab experiments. In other news, the Watcher's reporting that a 6.6 earthquake has slammed the southeast Indian Ridge. And speaking of earthquakes, the Watcher's is also reporting that researchers at a 10th Delphi Economic Forum on April 13, 2025, revealed that the use of advanced machine learning technology enabled them to detect over 50,000 earthquakes in Santorini, some of which occurred before the intense earthquake swarm in February 2025. This early detection enhanced earthquake forecasting and improved warning procedures during the crisis. That's a lot of earthquakes, you guys. 50,000. In the meantime, very sad situation, severe flooding and landslides in the Democratic Republic of Congo between April 4th and the 11th have resulted in at least 165 deaths and the displacement of more than 7,000 people. Over 60,000 residents face widespread infrastructure damage and loss of access to basic services. A severe dust storm has swept through Iraq on April 14th, hospitalizing over 2,700 people due to suffocation and respiratory issues, primarily in the southern provinces. The storm-covered regions in a blood red and orange haze disrupted travel and overwhelmed hospitals in Maysan, Basra, and Muthana. We are seeing a lot of dust storms lately, you guys. Are we entering another dust bowl? Very possible. We're seeing this all over the world. We've even seen it here in the U.S. Brighter side of news is reporting that a distant galaxy that lay quiet for decades has suddenly stirred, lighting up in dramatic bursts that have caught astronomers off guard. The unexpected awakening, traced to a black hole at the galaxy center, offers a rare chance to witness a massive cosmic event in real time. The galaxy known as SDSS 1335 plus 0728 and located around 300 million light years away in the Virgo constellation had showed no signs of activity for 20 years. But that changed in December of 2019 when its optical brightness surged. For a long time, the black hole at the heart of the Ansky was dormant. Like most supermassive black holes, it sat quietly, not pulling in nearby gas or stars. These black holes are millions of times heavier than our sun, but unless they are actively feeding, any remains are nearly invisible. That quiet period ended when the core began to glow. So signs in the heavens. And speaking of signs in the heavens, we've got signs in the sun. Earth.com is reporting that night sky watchers across the United States were in for another surprise, as a fresh blast of charged particles from the sun, a G4, which is a severe geomagnetic storm, was currently sweeping past our planet with colorful auroras expected far south as Alabama. The sun, currently in a busy phase of its 11-year cycle, has been hurling corona mass ejections toward Earth at a brisk pace this week. One of those eruptions has already sparked moderate geomagnetic storms, and many feared that it could strengthen this week, possibly drifting into April 18th, setting the stage for a vivid show. The NOAA Space Weather Prediction Center has issued a G4 or severe geomagnetic storm conditions that were observed at 5:25 Eastern Daylight Time on April 16th, with the alert stretching into April 17th to the 18th. A coronal mass ejection or CME has bombarded Earth with solar particles throughout the week, and forecasters are still deciding whether the high-intensity solar wind comes from a second burst or a single combined front. So what we see right here is signs in the sun. Jesus said that in the last days, before his return, we would see signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars. And we are definitely seeing that in our sun. And here we go, more signs in the heavens. A very bright fireball disintegrates over Mexico City with a loud rumble reported. The fireball was widely observed and recorded across Mexico City, with numerous videos showing the object falling apart in a flash of light. The shock waves caused by rapid heating and fragmentation of the object were detected by earthquake measuring devices, a typical occurrence when larger objects disintegrate in the atmosphere. In the meantime, ABC News is reporting that Puerto Rico was hit by another massive power outage on Wednesday, leaving the United States territory in the dark for a second time in 4 months. In a post on X, Luma Energy said it could take 2 or 3 days to restore services to 90% of customers, and that the priority for now is to restore power to critical facilities, such as hospitals. This is horrible, you guys. Those poor people in Puerto Rico. Can you imagine if that were to happen in the mainland? People would lose their minds. And this has happened a few times in Puerto Rico. Imagine no internet, no light, no electricity. It would be horrendous. So we got to keep Puerto Rico in our prayers. In the meantime, The Independent, as well as many other sources, is reporting that scientists have found the strongest evidence yet of alien life on a distant planet. Scientists have detected an encouraging potential sign of life on a planet in a different solar system in what they believe is the strongest indicator that life exists beyond Earth. Researchers analyzing the planet K2-18b, which orbits a star 120 light years from Earth, has found a molecule that on Earth is associated with living organisms in the planet's atmosphere. The potentially earth-shattering study was published on Wednesday with Astrophysical Journal Letters. A professor at the University of Cambridge and the lead author of the new study told the BBC that this is the strongest evidence yet that there is possibly life out there. I can realistically say that we can confirm this signal within 1 to 2 years. The findings could even suggest that the K2-18b is covered with an ocean, a potential home to living organisms. So this is very interesting, you guys. We are hearing more and more about alien life, about UFOs, unidentified objects. What does it all mean? Well, I can give you my personal opinion. I believe that the powers that be, quote unquote, is going to use these UFOs and aliens per se as a massive deception in the last days. And it could be the reasoning they use for the rapture, when millions and millions of people just vanish off the face of the earth. They're going to have to use some excuse as to why so many people just vanished off the face of the earth. And what better story to give than the UFOs and the aliens that came and took the rapture people away. It's a possibility. We're hearing a lot more of these aliens and UFOs. But we're told in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 9 through 12, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders, and with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they received not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. In other words, Jesus, the gospel. Verse 11, and for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion, that they should believe a lie, that they all might be damned who believed not the truth, but had pleasure in unrighteousness. So we can use this verse towards lots of things that could be happening in these last days. But I think this can also refer to those vanishing from the rapture, because they're going to have to say something. And the Antichrist is definitely not going to give God the glory. He's not going to point anyone to Jesus, because eventually he's going to say that he is God. He's going to try to be the God or the Messiah for Israel, because they're still waiting for the Messiah. They don't believe that Jesus is actually the Christ. So I think these aliens and UFOs could be that lie. Now, are these aliens real? Yes, I think that they are real. I think that they're demons. I've always thought that. But on that note, those are your headlines for today. Please do leave your comments below this video. I'd love to hear from all of you. When you have some time, come and visit us on our social media pages. We're on Facebook, Truth Social, X, MeWe, Telegram, TikTok. We just opened up a new channel there a month and a half ago. I'll leave a list for you guys below this video. Also, if you'd like to give a gift to this ministry, we're trying to upgrade some equipment here. So if you'd like to give a gift, that would be greatly appreciated. I'll leave those links below this video as well. And also come and visit us on our website at www.cww7news.com. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a blessed weekend, and I'll see you on Monday.